with the Indiana Fever today. Unfortunately, we have the horrific, terrible news that Sophie Cunningham is officially out for the rest of the season with a torn MCL.
Sophie Cunningham just went down with an injury that could change everything for the Indiana Fever, and fans are calling it one of the dirtiest plays of the season.
Sophie Cunningham was targeted, y'all. I'm telling you right now, Sophie Cunningham was targeted by Bria Hartley, and it just is what it is. It is what it is. I don't want to sit here and play games and act like, you know, she wasn't. She was targeted by Bria Hartley, and that's just the fact of the matter. And people can act like it's not all they want. I told you guys this girl was a dirty player. And that's all she did today was show how dirty she is.
As the broadcast cut to commercial, Sophie collapsed on the hardwood, clutching her right knee in agony after colliding with Bria Hartley. And the silence in the arena told you all you needed to.
Hits just keep coming for the Indiana Fever. Not unexpected that Sophie Cunningham ruled out for the season, but devastating nonetheless as the injuries just continue to pile up. Of course, Sydney Colson already out for the season, Ari McDonald out for the season, and now Sophie Cunningham out for the season. That's with Caitlin Clark still out and having been out for much of the season.
No. This wasn't just another routine fall. This was a moment that shifted the energy of an entire season. Trainers rushed. Teammates knelt by her side and fans gasped as Sophie tried to stand but collapsed again. And the more replays rolled, the more the outrage built. Because what looked
law is once again in full effect for the Indiana Fever as Sophie Cunningham is ruled out for the rest of the season. So what does this mean? They signed a new guard. Is Caitlin Clark ever coming?
like an unlucky collision at first quickly started to look like something much worse. A reckless attack on one of the league's toughest competitors. Sophie Cunningham has never been the type to stay down. This is the player who took over as Indiana's spark after Caitlin Clark went down earlier this season. The one who carried energy, fight, and grit when the roster was collapsing. So when she crumpled to the floor unable to put weight on her leg, fear spread instantly. Fans whispered words no team wants to hear: ACL, MCL, patella. Her screams, her body language, the way she clutched her leg, it all signaled a serious injury. And worse, it wasn't just the pain of the moment. It was the sense that Sophie hadn't just been unlucky. She had been targeted. Let's break down the play. Bria Hartley pressured Sophie from the right side, and instead of pulling back, she dove straight at her legs. Sophie was balanced, defending properly in position, but Hartley crashed into her knee head-on. A valgus load forced the joint inward, a dangerous movement that doctors warn often leads to catastrophic injuries. Add in the awkward rotation of Sophie's foot before contact, and you have the perfect storm for disaster: possible ACL tear, MCL damage, or even a patella dislocation. These are the kind of injuries that don't just end nights. They end seasons. Sometimes careers. The audience knew it. The Fever bench knew it. And Sophie's family, sitting in the arena, watching their daughter, their sister, their hero carried toward the locker room, felt the anger boiling. Because this wasn't the first hit Sophie had taken that night. Earlier, she was shoved, bumped, even struck in the head while dribbling up the floor. No whistle, no accountability. Then came the collision, and once again the officials swallowed their whistles. Imagine watching someone you love put their body on the line night after night only to be leveled by a reckless play, and the referees look the other way. For Sophie's family, this wasn't just basketball. This was the final straw, and now it's escalating. Reports say her family is considering legal action, not just against Hartley, but against the WNBA itself. Their claim? The league failed to protect its athletes. Think about the implications of that. A lawsuit like this could become a watershed moment for player safety, forcing the league to confront a culture where dangerous play too often gets brushed off as part of the game. From their perspective, Bria Hartley isn't a first-time offender. This is a player with a reputation. Fans haven't forgotten the ponytail grab on Angel Reese, the body check against Skylar Diggins, Rebecca Allen thrown to the floor. Time. And again, Hartley's name comes up when discussing reckless play. And yet here she was again, colliding with Sophie Cunningham's knee in a way that could change her career. The defense will say it wasn't intentional. But intent doesn't erase impact. And when a player carries a history of dangerous behavior, every new incident is magnified. Call it clumsy, call it careless, but the best word is the one Sophie's fans are shouting: reckless. The league has a choice to make. Do they continue to allow Hartley's style of play to define their product, or do they draw a line before someone else's career is cut short? Meanwhile, inside Indiana's locker room, emotions are boiling. Coach Stephanie White spoke with tears in her voice after the game, praising her team's resilience, their toughness, their togetherness. She tried to frame the moment as a test of grit, as fuel to keep fighting. But everyone knew what she wasn't saying out loud. Losing Sophie Cunningham wasn't just losing a player. It was losing the heart that had kept the Fever alive when everything else fell apart. The timing couldn't be worse. Indiana is already limping toward the finish line, their roster shredded by injuries. Caitlin Clark sidelined. Ari McDonald, Julie Colson, Sophie Cunningham, all down. Sophie had become the spark, the competitor who filled the void, and now she's gone too. Her fall wasn't just a moment on the court. It was the moment that cracked the momentum of an entire team. And yet the story doesn't end there. Because beyond the basketball, beyond the injuries, beyond the lawsuits, this incident forces a bigger conversation. How much responsibility does the WNBA bear for its players' safety? Can a league that thrives on intensity and physicality afford to let reckless play slide? And at what point does part of the game become negligence? For Sophie Cunningham, the road ahead is uncertain. Medical experts already suspect a combination of ACL, MCL, or patella damage based on the valgus force of the collision. Her body language, the position of her knee, the way she clutched it all point to something serious. And fans know it. Because players don't hold their legs like that unless something is terribly wrong. If those fears are confirmed, Sophie isn't just out for a few weeks. She could be gone for the season, maybe longer. For Bria Hartley, the microscope only gets harsher. Each replay, each fan reaction, each angry tweet cements her reputation as one of the league's most dangerous players. Fair or not, the court of public opinion has already reached its verdict: reckless. And for the WNBA, this is a crisis. One more injury to a star. One more headline about safety. One more moment that puts the integrity of the league under a harsh spotlight. Sophie Cunningham's injury wasn't just another play. It was a turning point. For her, for Indiana, and maybe even for the league itself. Because now the question isn't just when Sophie will return. The question is whether the WNBA will finally protect its players before another star hits the floor. And as fans, all we can do is wait. Wait for the diagnosis. Wait for the league's response. Wait for Sophie's story to continue. But one thing's certain: the sound of her hitting the floor, the sight of her clutching her knee, and the silence that followed, those won't be forgotten anytime soon.